The Baird Government is pressing ahead with its plan to privatise Sydney's double-deck heavy rail system and progressively replace it with single-deck cattle-class metro operation. In this video, we're going to take a hard look at the grim reality behind the government's propaganda.
In March 2011, the Liberals came to power in New South Wales, promising to build the North West Rail Link as a standard, integrated part of Sydney's suburban heavy rail system. By December 2011, things had started to roll towards construction, and in line with the promise, the media ran government video simulations showing standard modern double-deck trains on the line. A few months later, with Transport for New South Wales bureaucrat Rod Staples installed as Project Supremo, there was a sudden shift in policy. The line would now be privately operated. Artists' impressions released to the media and used in industry briefing papers depicted old-style single-deck trains not unlike Melbourne's rolling stock. Oh well, at least there were still plenty of transverse seats, an important thing on a long-haul suburban service. And then, with Hong Kong metro rail operator and property development giant MTR announced as Sydney's future metro operator, standards slipped again. A mock-up of a Hong Kong-style metro carriage was unveiled, and this video of happy travellers in a near-empty train appeared. The reality will be very, very different. EcoTransit had expected that Transport for New South Wales would defend the Metro decision by relying on the discredited argument that Metro was capable of shifting a greater volume of passengers because they could operate at greater frequency than double-deck trains. But when we met with the bureaucrats, a startling claim emerged.
They then went on to make a claim that you can actually fit more people on a single-deck train than you can fit on a double-deck train. And they said, well, yeah, of course you can. You just do it at 4 people per square metre on the train. And that way you can actually get 1,200 people on one of these single-deck trains. Of course, what they weren't saying was that you could, fit something like 2,000 or more on a double-deck train if you took the seats out. And that's really what this is all about, is having a minimum number of seats and a very large floor area. And that would be all. I've got a square metre which is brought to us courtesy of IKEA, who've sponsored this for me. And I'd like to get 4 people to come up, and preferably someone with some realistic sort of shopping and stuff. And I hasten to add that this IKEA is the well-known that actually sponsors the well-known Scandinavian homewares and furniture company, not the Liberal lobbying team. So one more person. Thank you very much. Now, look, I'll have to ask these people here just to move inwards a little bit, because we've got to leave about 1/5 of that space. Bob, get these blokes like you. You've got to leave about 1/5 of that space, so that people can get in and out near the doors and the foyers and actually move around, even though it's going to be a very, very tight pack. So this is what it's going to look like. And with the sort of trains that they're planning, the first 2 or 3 stops after Kajigong Road, people will get a seat, or a peak period, some people will get a seat. And thereafter, this is your option. You'll be standing all the way into Chatswood. But this is what it's going to look like. Now, what I'm going to ask these people to do is just to stand there for the next 25 minutes. No, look, that's okay. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Don't worry, I'm just kidding. You can go now, but that's what 4 people per square metre looks like. Thank you.
This is what Sydney Metro would really look like in the peaks. This is the future the Baird Government is trying to enthuse us about. It's a massive step down from our present spacious modern double-deck trains. Catching up on your emails? Working on your laptop? Say goodbye to all that. Doing some knitting, reading a book, just relaxing? Say goodbye to all that. At 4 passengers per square metre, it's not surprising that gropers have a field day on MTR trains. And the company enforces a draconian size limit on luggage. There's even a vigilante Facebook page encouraging travellers to dob in other travellers for violating the limit. This South China Morning Post story reports a music student being followed and threatened by MTR staff just because he carried his cello onto the train. That's what happens at 4 passengers per square metre.
The Baird campaign to downgrade Sydney's double-deck system to single-deck metro is a classic example of what spin doctors call the big lie technique. Big lie number 1 is that you can't run double-deck trains more frequently than every 5 minutes. But just for starters, there are at Central Station platforms where in the peaks trains arrive on average every 3 minutes. Big lie number 2 is that you can fit more people on a single-deck train than you can on a double-decker. And that's a pretty desperate lie, whichever way you cut it.
In fact, all over the world, rail systems that can convert their suburban and regional heavy rail to double-deck are doing so, and they cite greater capacity and passenger comfort as the reason. And they're not sacrificing service frequency to do so. Take Paris. The government-run RER system, the equivalent of Sydney's suburban rail, is converting to all double-deck. And here's the kicker. In the peaks, they run double-deck trains every 2 minutes or less. We could be doing this in Sydney with modern signalling, but the Baird Government won't tell you that because they want to exploit every possible argument for handing our rail system over to their friends in a Hong Kong property development company. So here's Baird's plan to metastasise the metro. The North West Rail Link, now under construction, is being built with tunnels just 40 centimetres too small to accommodate modern double-deck trains. The next stage is the privatisation of the existing Epping-Chatswood link. This will be altered so that double-deck trains can't use it. Then there's to be twin tunnels from Chatswood to Sydenham, also built to substandard metro-only dimensions. And finally, under the Baird plan, the Bankstown line will be closed for downgrading to metro status. All the stations are to be completely rebuilt so that they can only be used by cattle-class metro carriages, and the way will then be cleared for the government to resume swathes of property for an MTR-led high-rise redevelopment along the Bankstown line. If you want to see what Baird and Hong Kong MTR have in mind for wherever the metro touches, from Waterloo, where apartments for an extra 70,000 people are planned, right through to Bankstown, you only have to take a drive through Mascot on the airport line, where high-rise is being crushed in around the station, or the former industrial area adjacent to Canterbury Station on the Bankstown line. All the developer lobby groups, the very groups that want to pack another 3 million people into Sydney, are spruiking conversion to metro. On the face of it, that's odd, because as we've seen, metro, contrary to the government's spin, actually involves a massive downgrading of both passenger comfort and capacity.
To understand why the developers would do that, you have to factor in the single most important item in Baird's corporate agenda, the WestConnex Tollway project. For WestConnex to succeed for its private owners, it has to be guaranteed a flood of extra road traffic. So it's important that rail travel be made as uncomfortable, degrading and uncompetitive as possible. And that's why Baird wants to crush you into metro at 4 passengers per square metre.